Good morning, everyone. It's 10 o'clock, so I will go ahead and get started. Thank you all for joining us today and welcome to the CES training. Today, we're going to do an overview of the CES process in HMIS. So the main focus of this training will be on reviewing the HMIS functionalities for the CES process, okay? This is the agenda that we have for today. First, we're going to talk briefly about what is CES. Then we will review the components or the roles of CES. And after this, the bulk of our training will be in reviewing the CES workflow in HMIS. So we're going to review the process from the point of view of an access point, a matchmaker, and a housing agency. Before we get started, if you have any general questions during the training, please enter them in the chat box. My colleagues will be answering the questions in the chat. We're also going to send you the list of questions and answers that we cover here, and also any answers to questions that we need to escalate or investigate further. So all the questions will be covered either here or after the training. Also, if you have any question that is very, very specific to your agency, I would encourage you to submit a ticket to the help desk so we could properly assist you. Okay, so let's get started. What is the Coordinated Entry System, also known as CES? So in a nutshell, CES is a method of matching housing opportunities to the most vulnerable homeless population in the community. So there are three main roles or components that work together in the intake, assessment, and referral of the population experiencing a housing crisis. So first, we have the access points, who are the agencies that connect the clients to CES and send them to the community queue. They also provide additional services to the clients while they are on the queue, such as case management, for example. We also have the matchmakers who refer the clients on the community queue to the housing opportunities that the housing agencies have available. So the matchmakers are the CES lead agencies, which are the Family Solutions Collaborative for families and the County of Orange for individuals. And finally, we have the housing agencies who offer housing opportunities and receive referrals to house clients through their projects, okay? So we're going to go through these responsibilities in more detail, and we will review how these steps will look like in HMIS. So in order to review these steps in HMIS, we're going to demonstrate an example with the Bundy family. So let's suppose the family lost their house during the pandemic, and our goal as a community is to get them housed through CES. So we're going to follow this scenario throughout the whole training, having the Married with Children agency as the access point, the Family Solutions Collaborative as the family matchmaker, and the Springfield Homeless Agency as the housing agency. So those are going to be my examples for each role. And we're going to review the steps that each of these agencies have to follow in HMIS in order to house the Bundy household, okay? That's going to be the scenario for the demonstration. So let's review the process of the access points, which are the agencies that connect the clients to CES and send them to the community queue. Let's suppose Al Bundy, who is the head of household of the Bundy family, reach out to the Married with Children agency for assistance. And let's suppose I am a case manager with the Married with Children agency, which is an access point who works only with families. So my goal as the case manager is to help Mr. Bundy assess how vulnerable the family is and refer them to the community queue. So the first thing I need to do as the case manager is conduct the intake of the household in HMIS. And in order to do this, I need to switch to the CES Lead Agency in HMIS. So I need to switch from the Married with Children agency, which is my agency, to the Family Solutions Collaborative agency because that is the CES Lead Agency for families. So to do that, I need to go to the upper right corner of the main search screen in HMIS, click the drop-down button next to my agency name, and then select Family Solutions Collaborative. If I were working with individuals, I would need to switch my agency to the County of Orange, since this is the lead agency for individuals. Also, in order to have access to the CES Lead Agency in HMIS, you should complete the official CES training and have your agency administrator enter a ticket with us to request this access. Okay, so once I switch to the CES Lead Agency, I should search the clients in HMIS to verify that they all exist in the system. So I would start this process with the head of household, which in my example is Mr. Bundy, and then I search for the rest of the members. If the clients don't have a profile created in HMIS, I should create the profiles for all the members as usual. And also in this training, I will be closing over some basic functionalities of HMIS, but I won't be reviewing them all in detail because they are part of another training, which is a part 2 training that we will host on, I think, next month. So, but here I'm linking some knowledge base articles in this presentation that have step-by-step instructions on these functionalities. So for instance, here you have articles on how to search for a client, or also how to create a client profile in HMIS. Okay. So if all the clients have profiles created in HMIS, I need to review them all and make sure that they're accurate and they are up to date. So we should do this reviewing process for all the members of the household, not just the head of house. So after I make sure that all the client profile exists and they are complete and they're up to date in HMIS, the next step is to add the contact information. So to do that, I need to open the head of household profile in HMIS, then navigate to the contact tab, and then click the add contact button. After this, I need to specify the contact tab that I'm entering. So in HMIS, we have 3 types of contact. We have the client contact, which is the information that belongs to the client. We also have the emergency contact, which is, as the name indicates, is the information that belongs to the client's emergency contact. And lastly, we have the case manager contact, which is the information that belongs to the client's case manager, which in my example, that would be me, since I am now the case manager for this household, okay? In my example, I'm adding the information of Mr. Bundy. So in the client type dropdown, I am selecting client. Then I enter the client's email, phone number, and the date when I'm adding this information. I can also add any note related to that contact. So for instance, if Mr. Bundy can only receive phone calls in the evening, I would specify that in my notes, okay? So it's very important to verify that the contact information is accurate and is up to date, because being able to contact the clients is very crucial to place them in housing. Okay, so the next step is to enroll the household in the CES project. So in my example, I am working with a family. So I would need to go to the programs page of the head of household, which is Mr. Bundy, and under programs available, I will locate the family coordinated entry project and start the enrollment process as usual, as you already know. If I were working with an individual, I would need to enroll the client in the individual coordinated entry system project under the County of Orange agency. And if, on the other hand, I were working with veterans, I would need to enroll them in the project according to the household type. Okay, so the enrollment process in the CES project is basically the same as any other project in HMIS. I need to answer all the enrollment questions in the entry screen as usual. The only difference here is that for the CES enrollment, I need to provide additional information that is very specific to the CES process. So for instance, I have to answer which is the access point that is serving the client and what is the spa in which these clients are being served. So in my example, since I am the case manager with the Married with Children agency, I would select Married with Children in the access point dropdown. And to finalize the enrollment process, I need to verify that all the household members were enrolled, not just the head of household again. So it's important to remember that if I'm working with families, I need to enroll all the members of the household. I also need to verify that I have assigned correctly the head of household and that all the relationship to head of households are assigned correctly as well. This is very important because if I had errors here, I would have data quality issues with reporting, and that will affect the matching process. Okay, so now that the whole family has been enrolled in the CES project, the next step for me as the case manager for Mr. Bundy is to collect the required CES documentation. So to do this, I need to go to the files page of the head of household where I'm prompted to upload the required files. So here, I need to select coordinated entry documentation from the category dropdown and select the type of document that I am uploading from the predefined name dropdown. This could be either a homeless verification, disability condition verification, or chronically homeless verification. Then I will click the upload file button to select the file from my computer. And once the file uploads, I just click on save changes, okay? So one important here to consider is that when we are uploading documents, we need to make sure that the file that we are uploading matches the predefined name that we select. So in other words, it's important to verify that I am labeling the file correctly, right? That those things are consistent and match. So for instance, if I'm uploading a chronically homeless verification, the predefined name dropdown should be chronically homeless verification, right? Otherwise, this is considered an error in the system, and that will create problems with reporting and also with matchings. Okay. So once I have collected the required documentation, the next step is to complete the appropriate VSPDAT assessment. This assessment determines how vulnerable is this household, as well as the type of housing that would be most appropriate for them. So to complete the VSPDAT, I need to navigate to the assessment tab under the CES enrollment of the head of household, who is Mr. Bundy in my example. And then I need to locate the appropriate assessment for my client and then click the start button. Since I am working with family, I will select the VSPDAT for family assessment. If I were working with individuals, I would need to complete the VSPDAT for single adults. And if on the other hand, I were working with veterans, I would complete the veteran coordinated entry assessment. Okay, so once I am in the assessment screen, I will need to answer all the VSPDAT questions. I would start filling out the assessment date, which is the date that I'm collecting that information, the assessment information, the assessment location, which is the city where the VSPDAT is conducted, the assessment type, which refers to the method in which I'm completing the assessment. That can either be in person or by phone or virtually, and the assessment level, which should always be housing needs assessment. Okay, then I will continue to answer all the questions of the assessment, and at the very end, I would click on save. Okay, so after I complete the VSPDAT for Mr. Bundy, so at this point in my example, the Bundy household is considered to be assessed. Okay, so as soon as I complete the VSPDAT, the system will process the answers and provide a score summary, which includes the total VSPDAT score, as well as scores for each subsection of this assessment. Also, here I'm prompted to send the client to the community queue. So to do this, I just need to select the coordinated entry system toggle and then click the referral directly to the community queue button, as you can see here. Okay, so on the next screen, I am given the option to write a note to the referral agency. These notes may include information on the housing preference or the housing needs of the clients. And finally, I need to click on the send referral button to add the household to the community queue. So at this point in my example, the Bundy household is document ready, have been added to the community queue, and is waiting to be matched to a housing opportunity. So as a side note, if for some reason I need to edit the VSPDAT before sending the client to the community queue, I can go to the assessment tab under the CES enrollment of the head of household, scroll all the way down to the assessment history, locate the VSPDAT I just completed, and edit edit the VSPDAT by clicking the edit button next to the name of the assessment. From here, I can also send the client to the community queue by clicking the eligibility button. So once I click that eligibility button, the system will send me to the screen where I can see the score summary and refer the client to the community queue. So pretty much the screen that we saw in the previous slide. Okay, so while the household is on the community queue, waiting to be matched to a housing opportunity, the case manager should keep the client active on the community queue. So this is very important because after 90 days of inactivity, the system automatically removes the client from the queue. So it's my responsibility as the case manager to avoid this from happening. And how do I keep the client active on the queue? So there are a few options in this case. I can keep the client active by either clicking the checking button in the referral, adding a note to the referral, adding a CES event, or updating the client's current living situation. So the most common method to keep the client active on the queue is by using the check-in button. So let's see how we do this in HMIS. So the premise behind this check-in button is that as a case manager, I should check in with my clients to verify that they're still interested in housing placements through CES. And in order to track these interactions, I need to click that check button, or there's a way in which I can track these interactions. So how do we do that? I should go to the head of household history page, locate the referral, and open the referral by clicking the edit icon next to it. This will open the edit referral screen. And there I should navigate to the referral sign section, locate the last activity field, and click the check-in button. This is where the check-in button, where we can find the check-in button all the time. Once I click this button, the timer of the 90 days will be reset. So as a case manager, I should monitor this last activity date to determine when a check-in is needed for my household. Also, as a case manager, I can add additional notes regarding the client's housing needs. This is very similar to the notes I added when I sent the client to the queue. So to enter a note, I should just navigate to the notes section of the edit referral screen, and then I would write a note and click send note. By adding the note, I'm also resetting the timer of the 90 days. So there's another way to make sure that I keep the client active on the queue. Okay, as I mentioned before, there are other ways I can keep the client active on the queue, but due to time restraints, I will include this information in the training materials that I will send you guys after the training. Okay. And the last thing I want to show you as the case manager of the access point is how to remove clients from the community queue when they no longer need to be served through CES. So as a case manager with the access point agency, it's also my responsibility to remove the client from the queue when needed. So this can happen, for instance, if the client finds housing opportunity on their own or if the whereabouts of the clients are unknown. So to remove a client from the queue, I need to open the referral screen and navigate to the remove from queue section. And there, I should enter the reason the client is being removed from the queue. And in some cases, I need to answer some follow-up questions depending on the reason of the removal, okay? So for instance, if Mr. Bundy found housing on his own and he's going to stay at a family member house or a friend house, I will select self-resolved in the reasons for removing field. And then I will need to select that the client is living with friends and family. I would also specify the date that I'm removing the client from the queue and also just click the changes. Okay, and that concludes the access point role in HMIS. So let's recap the process because I know there's a lot of steps here. Okay, so as a case manager for the Bundy's household, I located and reviewed the client's profile in HMIS. I enroll all the members of the household in the Family CES project. I collected the required CES documentation. I also completed the family VSPDAT for Mr. Bundy, who is the head of household of the family. And I referred Mr. Bundy to the community queue. And finally, I ensured as a case manager that the client was active on the queue. I can also provide services to the household where they are enrolled in the queue or where they're in the queue. So at this point, Mr. Bundy or the Bundy family is assessed, document ready, and is on the community queue ready to be matched. Okay, so now let's move on to the matching process in HMIS. And as I mentioned before, the matchmaker for our coordinated entry system are the Family Solutions Collaborative for families and the County of Orange for individuals. So the matchmakers connect the clients that are referred to the community queue with the housing opportunities that the housing agencies have. And we will review the housing opportunities process in a little bit. So the matchmakers review these two lists, so the list of clients that are on the queue and the list of housing opportunities to determine the matching so that the most vulnerable clients are referred first, okay? So the actual matching decision process happens outside HMIS. So by that, I mean that the system does not decide automatically which client should be matched to which opportunity. So that is not an automated process, if you will. But HMIS provides the matchmaker and the whole community the reports and also the information that they need to match for the matching decision and also all their referrals conversations. So once the match is determined, the role of the matchmaker is to complete the match or record match in HMIS. So that's the role that they have in the HMIS. Okay, so let's continue with my example of the Bundy household. And now let's suppose that the family CES agency matches the Mr. Bundy with a housing opportunity in a rapid housing project of the Springfield agency. So again, these matching conversations and decisions occur outside HMIS, but the matchmaker needs to record that matching that has been decided in HMIS. So here, I'm not going to deep dive into the process of doing the match in HMIS. And the reason being is because this is only applicable for a small group of users in the CES lead agencies. So I'm not going to deep dive on that since it's applicable just for a small group of people, but I will include knowledge-based articles with step-by-step instructions on this process in case you guys are curious about it. Okay, so just in a nutshell, let's summarize the steps that the matchmaker would have to follow in HMIS for my example of the Bundy's household. So the family matchmaker would review the households in the community queue and available housing opportunities. Both are reports that the matchmaker has available. The matchmaker also would review Mr. Bundy's referral in HMIS. So basically, the matchmaker would review the referral that the access point created. So the referral that we just review how to create as an access point. And then the matchmaker would match Mr. Bundy to a housing opportunity in the Springfield Rapid Housing Project in HMIS. So in my example, at this point, Mr. Bundy and the entire Bundy household have been referred to a housing opportunity. So we are one step closer to get them housed. Okay, so now let's review the process of the housing agencies in HMIS. So as I mentioned before, the housing agencies offer housing opportunities and receive referrals to house clients that are eligible in their projects. So let's overview the housing agency role with the same example of the Bundy house, okay? But now, let's suppose I am a user at the Springfield agency, which is an agency that only works with families, okay? So now my role is with the housing agency, so I'm wearing now the housing agency hat, if you will. And let's suppose that my agency has an open opportunity to house a family in the Rapid Housing Project. So as a staff member of the Springfield agency, I need to add this opportunity or create that opportunity so I can receive the referral to house a family from the community queue. Okay, so here it's almost as if we're going back a little bit in time before the matchmaker referred the Mr. Bundy or the Bundy household to the Rapid Housing Project. Okay, yeah, because I need to create the housing opportunity first in order to get the referral, in order for the matchmaker to make the referral in HMIS. Make sense? So how do I enter this housing opportunity in HMIS? So I know I have a housing opportunity in the Rapid Housing Project for one family, but how do I record this? And by the way, this is the new process that the individual CES agencies have to do starting this week. All the providers need to start doing this process in HMIS. Okay, so the first thing I need to do is going to go to the referral page, which is in the upper right corner of the main screen in HMIS. Then I will need to navigate to the availability tab. And here I have the option to specify if my housing opportunity is for the bed reservation or for CES. So in this case, since we're working the coordinated interest system, I will need to select or click the coordinated interest system. Okay. Once I do this, I can see a list of all my projects for which I can add housing opportunities. Since I want to add a housing opportunity for the Rapid Housing Project, I would need to locate this project on that list and then select limit availability. And here I have the option to add a single opportunity, or I can add multiple opportunities at the same time. So I would either click the add single opening button, or I can also click the add multiple openings button depending on the number of opportunities that I want to add. So it's either or, okay? You have both options. So this is very useful if you're adding a lot of opportunities at the same time. Just click the add multiple openings button. But for my example, I would only click the add single opening because I just have one unit available for occupancy just for one family, okay? So once I click the add single opening button, the add opening pop-up window will appear. And here I need to add the date in which I'm gonna add in this opening and any notes related to that opening. So in my example, this unit is on a second floor, so I have a note specifying that this unit is upstairs, okay, as you can see here. And any note regarding that specific opportunity could be entered here. Here, I can also specify if the opening is for families, for individuals, or for both. So depending on the possibilities of your unit. So in my example, my unit is just for families. So I would just need to select the toggle for family CES. But again, you can select either families or you can select individuals or both, depending on your housing opportunity. Okay. I can also specify the size of the household that can occupy this unit. So in my example, this unit is for a family of 4 max. So I would enter that name here, number, sorry, here. And then finally, I just click on Save Changes. So now, as a side note, what happens if I want to add a housing opportunity after I create it? So for this, I would need to locate the project that has this opportunity in the availability tab. And then I would select the down arrow to the right of the availability options of that project. So this that you can see here. Okay, here I would see a list of opportunities that I had previously created. So in my example, I just see one because I only created one. So if I want to edit a specific opportunity, I would select the edit icon next to the opportunity. And this will open the pop-up window where I can edit the information of the opportunity I just created. So here I can change the day that I created the opportunity, or I can edit the number of clients that this unit can house, or I can add any extra information to that note. So pretty much I can edit the whole opportunity to make sure it's up to date and it's complete. Okay. So let's move forward in time. So you remember that the family matchmaker matched the boundaries household with the housing opportunity in the Rapid Housing Project, right? So that's what they did in the role. So in other words, the matchmaker matched Mr. Bundy with the opportunity I just created, okay? So, well, as soon as that happens in HMIS, I would receive an email notifying me that I have a pending referral in the Rapid Housing Project. So the system will notify me that Mr. Bundy has been referred to my rapid housing project and is prompting me to review that referral by sending me an email and sending me this link in the email. So to check the referral, I can click on that link and that I received in the email, and that would take me directly to the referral screen in HMIS for my review. Here, all the CES agency administrators, all the housing agency would receive these notifications. So another way I can review the referral is by going to the pending tab of the referral page. As a reminder, I can access the referral page at the top right corner of the main search screen in HMIS, okay? So once I am in the pending tab, I can see all the clients that have a pending referral in my agency. And here I can see that Mr. Bundy has a referral to my rapid housing project. See, you can see it here. If I had more clients pending, I would just see the list of all the clients. So to review the referral, I just need to click on that edit icon next to my client's name. Okay, and once I click that, this will open the referral screen, which is the same screen that would open if I clicked that link that we just saw in the email notification, okay, that I received after the match. So now I need to review the referral to make sure that the client is indeed eligible for my project. So I should contact Mr. Bundy to confirm that he's still interested in being housed in my rapid housing project. So this is a conversation that I should have for the client, with the client. So that's why having the contact information is crucial, right? Because I need to be able to contact this client easily. So when I do this reviewing process, I need to change the status of the referral from pending to pending in process. So basically pending is when I have not seen or when I have not reviewed the referral, and pending in process is when I am telling the system that I'm in the process of reviewing the referral. That would be kind of the difference. I can also assign a case manager to Mr. Bundy in my housing agency and click the check-in button to make sure that Mr. Bundy stays in the queue, just in case like the reviewing process takes longer. And that is the same check-in button that we talked about when we were when we were reviewing the access point role. So after I do these changes, I just click on Save Changes. Okay, so in the referral screen, I can also see the notes that the access point user and the matchmaker have entered regarding Mr. Bundy's referral. So at the bottom of the screen, I can see the whole history of the referral, if you will. So I can see that Mr. Bundy was sent to the community queue by the access point user here, and then that the family matchmaker referred them to my agency. So I can see all the steps that we have reviewed so far in this training. Okay, so now let's suppose that Mr. Bundy is eligible for my project and is still interested in being housed in my rapid housing project. So that's great news. So the next step for me as the user with the housing agency is to enroll the Bundys in the rapid housing project, which is the project that the family was referred to, or that the matchmaker referred them to. So for this, I need to navigate to Mr. Bundy's programs page in HMIS and locate the project under the programs available section. Here, that orange button, I can see that Mr. Bundy has a pending referral for this project. See, this little guy here. So I should enable the program placement referral provided toggle in order to connect the project enrollment with the referral. So this is very, very important for us to do. If I don't do this, this enrollment won't be connected with the referral, and that would be an error in the system. So I should also make sure that I select all the members of the household to enroll them together in the group in my project. And after just selecting this toggle and selecting all the members, I just click on enroll. So here I should answer all the enrollment questions for all the household members as usual. One thing that is important here is that the project start date of the enrollment in the housing project should match the date that the household was accepted in the project. After I have enrolled all the clients in the project they were referred to, the referral is considered to be complete, and that this will be reflected in the completed tab of the referrals page. So I would see Mr. Bundy in the complete tab after I enroll the whole household in the Rapid Housing Project. So remember, before the enrollment, the Mr. Bundy was in the pending tab, but now, since I have enrolled the household in the referral project, he now appears in the completed tab, because pretty much the completion of the referral is determined by the enrollment of the client in the referred project. Okay. One thing here is that if I had not linked the referral with the Rapid Housing Enrollment, so if I had not toggled that little button that I just showed you guys, as we talked when we were creating the enrollment, I would not see Mr. Bundy in the completed tab, and the referral would not be considered complete. It's considered to be pending in process because the clients were not enrolled in the project, or they were enrolled in the project, but the enrollment is not connected with the referral. So that's why it's very important to connect the referral with the project enrollment. Okay, so again, what determines the completion of the referral is the enrollment in the referred project. Okay, and the last step I have to do as a housing agency user is to exit the Bundys or the whole household from the family CES project that the access point user enrolled them in. Remember at the very beginning when we were talking about the access point role? Okay, so the family should remain enrolled in the CES project until the family has been placed in the unit. But once they are housed, so once they have moved to the housing unit, my responsibility as the housing agency is to exit the clients from the CES enrollment, right? Because they don't need to be there anymore since they're already housed, okay? So to exit the clients from the CES enrollment, I need to switch my agency from a Springfield agency, which is the agency of the housing project or the housing agency, to the CES Lead Agency, which in this case is the Family Solutions Collaborative. I do that just by switching the agencies in the upper right corner of the main search screen HMIS, but as usual. Okay, and then after I switch my agency to the Family Solutions Collaborative, I need to navigate to Mr. Bundy's program page and click the edit icon next to the Family CES Enrollment. Then I need to navigate to the exit tab and select all the members of the household and then click Exit Program. Please make sure that you exit all the members of the household, not just the head of household. So we need to select every single member, otherwise that's going to create data quality issues. Okay, so everybody, not just the head of household, and then click just End Program. So once I am in the exit screen, I should go ahead and answer all the project exit questions as usual. But one thing that is very important is that the project exit date of the CES enrollment should match the housing moving date. So that's the date that the household moved into the housing unit. And the destination should match the type of housing in which the clients were enrolled. So for instance, in this example, in this case, if I enroll Mr. Bundy in a rapid rehousing project, the destination would be rental by client with rapid rehousing or equivalent subsidy. Please note that the exit date of the CES enrollment used to match the start date of the housing project. That was the kind of guidance that we had before. But the exit process guidance changed on February of this year, and we talked about that on the February user meeting. So that is where the guidance changed, and now the exit date should match the housing moving date instead, and not the other date. No date start date. Okay, so that's a very important update that we have since the last time we conducted this training. And if I'm also going to link to the minutes of that user meeting so you have more information as to why that was changed. Okay, okay, so that would be all the process of the housing agency for the Bundys. So if we want to take a look at the history of the referral, we can go to the history page under the client's profile and click on the edit icon next to the referral. Okay, this will open the edit referral screen, and at the bottom of that screen, I can see that first, the household was added to the queue by the access point user. That's kind of the first thing that we reviewed. Then The family matchmaker referred the household to the Springfield Rapid Housing Project. And finally, the housing agency reviewed the referral, accepted it, and enrolled the client in the project to which they were referred, which in my example was the Rapid Housing Project. So again, in the history, I can see all the steps that everybody had followed in order to house this family. So now as a side note, let's see a different scenario, okay? Like an alternative different scenario. So what happens if the client is not eligible in my project or is no longer interested in being housed through my project? So in this case, I would need to deny the referral when that happens. And how do I do that in HMIS? Okay, so for that, I need to open the referral screen and change the status from pending to denied. I have to specify if I want to send the client back to the community queue. So I should send the client back to the community queue if the client is not eligible for my project, but they can be housed by another agency in the CES. So in that case, I would just select yes in that send to community queue field, okay? I should only select no if the client no longer needs to be housed through CES. So in that case, I don't need to send the client back to the queue. In the denied by type field, I need to specify if the referral has been denied either by the client or by the provider, which in this case would be me. So for instance, if the client is not eligible, and I can also enter a note with more information about that denial. So in this alternative example, the client is not eligible in my project because let's suppose it's not currently homeless, and I need that as a criteria for eligibility. So in the denied by type field, I would select provider because it's me, the housing provider, who is determining that the client is not eligible, right? The denied reason would be lack of eligibility, and the denied information node, in the denied information node, I'm specifying the reason, right? Like the household is not currently homeless, like why I'm denying this referral. So it's important to notice here that the housing agencies have the ability to send the clients back to the community queue, right? When they are denying their referral, they just need to select yes to that send to the community queue. And that's very important because so for instance, if me as a housing agency, if I cannot house that client, I still need to make sure that we as a system are helping them, right? That's what we all want. So it's important to send the client back to the queue. Okay, so after the client's referral is denied, the client will be on the denied tab and on the community queue tab, because I sent, in my example, I sent the household back to the community queue. So I see Maura Rose, who is my kind of client example for this alternative denied scenario. I see that Myra would be on the denied tab and also on the community queue tab, right? If I had selected no to send the client back to the household, I would only see the head of household, which is Moira, on the denied tab. I would not see Moira here because since I'm not sending the client back to the queue, it's no longer in the queue. So that's how we denied a referral and make sure that clients remain in the queue to be housed by other providers. Okay, so as we mentioned, the referrals page is very important and we have many tabs. So I would like to pretty much do a quick overview of each tab of the referral page. So as you know, this is very important because the whole CES process is conducted in this referral page. And it's kind of all the referrals are managed and are reviewed from that page. So in the pending tab, I can see the clients that have been matched to a housing opportunity at my agency. That's here. In the community queue tab, we can see the clients that are currently on the queue waiting to be matched to a housing opportunity. So it's important to notice here that this tab is only managed and reviewed by the matchmakers, right? Because they are the ones who review, again, the list of clients that are on the queue. So that's applicable just for them. In the completed tab, we can see the list of clients that were matched through CES referral and have accepted the housing opportunity and were enrolled in the housing project at my agency, right? So that's where I saw Mr. Bundy after I completed and I enrolled them in my rapid housing project. And in the denied tab, we can see the clients that were matched to a housing opportunity at my agency, but were ultimately denied by the household or by the agency, either or. I would say it on the denied tab. And finally, we have the availability tab where we can create the housing opportunities. So this guy. And this is the very first tab that me as the housing agency needs to utilize, right? Because this is where I need to go to create the housing opportunities. Again, this is a brand new process for individual providers. Okay. And that's it for the housing agency. So let's recap the process. So as an agency administrator or as a user of the Springfield agency, I added the housing, I had the housing opportunity in their Springfield Rapid Housing Project. Then I received a referral from the matchmaker to house Mr. Bundy in that Rapid Housing Project. Then I reviewed that referral. I checked the client eligibility and confirmed that Mr. Bundy is still interested in being housed in my project. So I had that conversation with my client. I enrolled the Bundys in the Springfield Rapid Housing Project, and then I exited the Bundys, the whole family, from the Family CES project after they were placed in the unit. So that's the overview of the things or the steps I followed as a user in the Springfield agency. Okay, and that would pretty much conclude the whole review of the whole CES workflow in HMIS, from the access point, the matchmaker, and the housing agencies. And now that the Bundys are housed, we have achieved the goal that we set up at the very beginning of the training, right? When we said that our goal as a community is to house these family and work together collaborative to assist them to get housed. So in our example, the Bundys were housed because all the three components of CES work together for making that happen. And now they're super happy. So yeah, we achieved our goal. And I know we glanced over kind of quickly through all the steps. I know it's a lot of information, but I just wanted to do like an overview of the most important steps. And again, it was important for me to explain the whole workflow from the very, very beginning when the household reaches out to the access point till the very end when the household is housed by a housing agency. Okay, and that's pretty much what I wanted to share with you today. We have, as I was mentioning before, step-by-step instructions for all the process I mentioned here, and even more. We have a lot of documentation. Our knowledge base articles is pretty comprehensive with all CES information. We also have additional CES documentation for your review, like we have the CES flow charts, we have the past trainings, and the official CES training that are on our training site. Also, in the wrapping email that I will send after this training, I will send a link with all that training materials, as well as these slides and the recording of this webinar, and also the Q&A that we had that were my colleagues helped me monitoring. So if you have any general questions, please leave them in the chat box and we will continue to answer them. And I would also like to send you the link for a survey that we have for you to complete, because it's very important for us to listen to you guys. What do you guys think about the training? If there's only other steps that you want for us to demonstrate, or if there's anything else that you would like us to provide. I'm very interested in knowing what you guys think. So I just sent the link to that survey in the chat. So please take 2 minutes to answer them. We really, really appreciate that. And thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate it.